Hi, this is Kevin Paul. Join me and my special guests on our discussion on the longest night and our traditions on the winter solstice. My guests include Kate, a solitary witch from Baltimore, Maryland, and my dear friend Reverend David Flaherty, also from Baltimore, Maryland, and me, Kevin Paul, a psychic medium from Washington, D.C. Hello, hello. I want to welcome everyone to Psychic Mediums Live, where we talk about all things spiritual and paranormal. And I'm your host, Kevin Paul, a psychic and medium in Washington, D.C. And today I've gathered a solitary witch, a priest, and a psychic medium to talk about our traditions, practices, and the meanings for the winter solstice, which is the shortest day and the longest night of the year. And if you have any questions for us, please place your questions in the comments section of this live broadcast, and I will get to them after our interview. And this show will be recorded and be placed on our Facebook pages and on my YouTube channel. I'm so excited to introduce my special guests. I've got Kate, a solitary witch, and Reverend David Flaherty, an independent Catholic priest, both from Baltimore, Maryland. Thank you both for being on my show today.
Oh, so happy to be here. I really appreciate the invitation.
It's wonderful to see everyone's smiling faces today on the shortest day of the year. So please let me have you all properly introduce yourself. Kate, would you like to go first?
Sure. So you can see my full name there. I'm going to go ahead and go with Kate Bishop. I go by she, her. I live in Baltimore, although I'm actually in Ohio today, and celebrated the dawn on a very cold, but surprisingly sunny, beautiful blue sky day in North Canton, Ohio. And I'm a solitary witch, meaning that I am not part of a larger religious group like Wiccan or Druid or other kinds of ways that pagans organize themselves. I'm doing my own thing, making it my own way.
And where's your hat?
Oh, I do have a very fine hat, but it's back in Baltimore. Just didn't have place to bring it on the trip.
And Reverend Flaherty, Mr. Flaherty, would you please introduce yourself? Tell everybody who you are. We have done a live before last Halloween. Folks haven't seen you since then. So please.
It's been a year. It's been a year, hasn't it? And that's what I love about tonight is there's that year marker. David Flaherty in Baltimore, Maryland, where we are missing Lady Kate. Your presence is missed. But also this past weekend, we celebrated another ceasefire weekend. Amazing stuff that people are doing, not just saying, but doing. I'm very proud of Baltimore and how it does things. We eventually get there. Originally from upstate New York, Syracuse, New York, where my family is. I only put that out there because, you may notice it'll be either my Irish, my Catholicism, or my upstate New York will come out, and I apologize for that in advance. I was ordained 19 years ago, going on 20. what is the traditional gift for the 20th anniversary? Well, you have a year to figure it out. So, or it was ordained as an independent Catholic priest, having studied to be a Roman Catholic priest. Came to grips with being at odds with the way women were treated, the way the sacraments were treated as hoops to jump through, and then came out as gay. And so I left that track, ordained independent 19 years ago, and very much, Kate, I am drawn towards, as well as my Reconstructionalist Jewish friends, who very much take the tradition, which is it's in our hearts and our minds, it's in us, but it takes us different places. And I have been some different places that would never have seen, never been part of. And I am thrilled about that and thrilled to be here. And both of you represent my life, that journey. And so it's good to be here on this shortest, longest moment for us in the northern hemisphere.
In the northern
they start summer down.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So let's talk about our portion of the globe here, the winter solstice, and what it means to each one of us personally. What kind of practices you like to, and traditions you do on this special day and maybe days after. And I'll also bring up my practices after you guys go. And then I've got some of the some folks who have been following me. I'm going to talk about their practices. I just asked them to kind of put together what they do, so we'll get a sense of what other people do as well. So Kate, tell us, what is it you do special on this special day?
You know, when you asked about traditions and to be able to speak about here's what I do, it's different every year. It's very idiosyncratic, and that's been true about my practice all through my journey as a witch and my journey in spirituality. I feel like I should give a few other details about my spiritual life and how I got to here. I grew up in the Disciples of Christ Protestant church. My father was a minister, and I grew up very steeped in the functions of faith. That the fact that when people are in the hospital and other people pray for them, they get better faster than folks who aren't prayed for. And I don't actually think that there's somebody to talk to in the sky. That's not part of my belief system, but that fact is true. So what is it about faith that heals us and leads us forward and helps us structure our lives? And so I look for, what are the things that speak to me? What are the things that move me, that help me feel part of something bigger than myself and help me feel like I can reach out the best parts of me and connect with other people? Love, wisdom, peace, justice. What are the things that help me feel like those pathways are clear? So what I did this morning, I'm in a place where we were just talking about, I have the access to a fire table. It's an amazing thing where I just went out into the screen porch and lit a fire this morning at 5 a.m. so that I would be in plenty of time to greet the sun. I love the idea of waking up the sun. I think that kind of sympathetic magic of, I'm going to create light and heat to call forward light and heat. And I'm clear that what is bigger than me is that the sun will come up. You know, like I don't have to scare it into being alive, but I can appreciate and I can resonate with that moment by creating my own light and heat. So I put white candles at 4 corners of the table and called the directions: east, which is also about air and the mind; south, which is fire and spirit, or kind of passion, spark of life; west, which is water and our feelings and emotions; and north, this good green earth and the body that I'm here in. And then I do this devotion every morning, but added a little bit more to it to acknowledge what those directions and what those sympathies, what those resonances have looked like over the last few months and over the last year. It's a time of being able to look at a year complete. I think there's a great gesture to do that because of the calendar new year, because so many people celebrate Christmas around now, and that new year is a big deal. Like, it marks a time for people to gather and have kind of a respite. I like to think about solstice as a time of praising and acknowledging the gifts of the darkness. thinking about seeds growing and germinating in the earth, thinking about newborn in the womb, thinking about going inward and allowing ourselves to have darkness and rest as part of growing and moving forward. And there's been a lot of dark moments in the last few months that I really needed some reflection to process. And so I spent some quiet time with the fire. And then as the sun came up, I took a very cold walk out on the grounds behind this house and walked down to the water, spoke to the water. I don't work much with deities. They're not something that speak to me. So I just talk directly to the trees, and I listen for intuitions. I listen for voices I hear back. Trees are especially great to talk to. They all have kind of auntie, old lady voices and come in different timbres and different, like some are really harsh and some are really loving. And I look for what I can pick up from what's around me and try to weave it into what's happening for me in the day. I usually actually just go to the Unitarian church service. They do a beautiful job, and they sing a couple of songs that I like to come back and resonate with, and they talk about the wonder of the dark and bless the new babies that were born that year in the church. And there's enough of me that enjoyed and appreciated the community of a church family to be able to touch that once a year is always a wonderful treat. But my real spiritual work is usually independent. It's usually solitary.
Mm-hmm. And very nature-based, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, that's the part of it that resonates most with my spirit. The reason I became a witch is that I found feminism. I showed up in college, they taught me some things, and I noticed that the world wasn't the world that was described to me, and that there wasn't a place for me to be powerful in it, and decided I needed a lady god. This whole father god thing wasn't going to fly anymore. And witches have long been part of tradition of looking at the strengths and wonder of feminine aspects of the world. And over time, that went from a goddess story where this is the rebirth of the sun for some people who work with the god and goddess who are witches. For some, the goddess rebirths herself if you work only with female figures. But to me, actually, the deities aren't it for me anymore. I really just want to talk to the actual ground and talk to the sky and talk to the animals and the plants that are around me and help connect with the most essential spirits that I can feel moving within those and how that connects to my essential spirit.
And you use candles, you use your intuition. What
I use music a lot. I like to sing, and so I often have a chant or some kind of music that's important in the moment. I like poetry and readings, but I don't have a very strict, like when we call the quarters, we say exactly these things. I like it very much to be a conversation and feel very natural. I do occasionally, not occasionally, I do some of my work with other people. One thing that I found really powerful, and it's a lot to get into in the first 5 minutes, is sex magic and raising energy through sex and play and context that evokes a kind of spark. So sometimes that's part of the practice, depending on the holiday, depending on the work, depending on what's needed there. But yeah, most of what I'm doing comes from the ritual making that my dad taught me, that I learned to do in church communities. And it turns out that I'm a pretty gifted ritualist. I'm able to come up with ways that help me move from one energy to another, shift what's happening within myself or in a group of people. It's group facilitation skills are in there, and I've learned over time how to use that in service of spirit.
Nice. I'm familiar with, what you're talking about. I've heard other people talk about that as well. It is fascinating. How about you, Reverend Flaherty?
I just want to validate and amen, Kate. Your dad performed your wedding.
He did.
Wow.
2006, so it was not a legal ceremony. But yeah, he stood there and said the words that we instructed him to say beautifully and with great heart. Yeah.
He, the pastor, he passed. It's been 2 years.
2017. Yeah.
Everything that she said. I was raised by a mother who let me know that there are certain things you don't say about yourself. You let other people say them. But thank God Katie was not raised by that, because every word she spoke is true. I've been at services that she's done, and she and I were able to. This is one of those statements when I talk about things that I never thought I'd end up doing, but end up doing because it's the path that we take. A parishioner came to me when his wife and then his daughter died very soon on top of after each other, and we're planning the daughter's funeral, and he says, this is going to seem odd, but I'm not sure how to do this. She's pagan. And I said, oh, it's not a problem. Tori, our fellow parishioner, her wife's a witch. And as I said that, it occurred to me that that was something that was never going to be part of my life as a Catholic priest, but thank God it is. And what you said about darkness, and because people will, there's no one's going to deny these are dark times. The times they are stupid. I mean, the times they are, but there's darkness that's life-giving, that you don't have life without. And then there's dark that's just dumb, or just turn a light on. It's like, and to be able to even sit in the darkness and discern which is which. It's like, yeah, I talk about it through snow. Upstate New York, I told you this was going to happen. In upstate New York, it will snow at some point during the winter, and you will be expected to be nowhere because you can't, because it'll be sick. And there's a yearly 3 or 4 days, if not a week, where no one expects you to be anywhere, and you just settle. And I haven't had that in 30-some years down here. And I notice it at some point during the winter. I'll notice there hasn't been that rest, the hibernation. So I went into seminary right out of high school. So, Maria was not an asset to the Abbey. No, I was for a little bit, but people were like, what is this? I hit the seminary running and had been longing for that for so long. Nerd. When I left, it didn't make any sense to me or to anybody around me, except that I had to do this outside of where I'd been with the Roman Catholic Church. And I immediately start looking for, I know I'm going to be doing something spiritually. And it was through music, sound and music. So there's a cathedral, a cavernous cathedral called St. John the Divine. It's Episcopal in New York City. And when I say cavernous, they have an organ whose console is in the choir up near the altar. On the back wall of this cathedral are state trumpets. When you're at the console and you hit a note to play these state trumpets, there's a 7-second delay before you hear it. It is a cavern, and it was built in the days before Catholics and Protestants got along. It was built to show that it was large. It was the largest, cathedral, and it is in fact still being built. But through the heart and the mind of the loving Episcopals, it has become, it has owned the community that it lives in. There are young men from the neighborhood, and I suppose women as well, who have learned how to be stonemasons and are now leaving that neighborhood in the Bronx and are going around the world to do repairs on Notre Dame, because they were trained there. So they take very seriously. So that cavernous space, every inch of it is used. They have a in-house resident musician named Paul Winter Consort, you may have heard of. And on one of these years, not in the seminary, not ordained, trying to figure out what to do, I picked up this Winter Solstice album. I believe it was one of the first CDs that I bought, if you remember, children, when I was a young man. And I didn't know what it was. I didn't know who he was. He does a winter solstice service every year, and it'll be on tonight. NPR usually plays it. It's become quite a thing, but it struck me. It starts with tomorrow will be my dancing day, da, 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 da. And then the whole night is world music from around the world, getting us through the night. Okay, when you talked about the independence, and it just to call myself an independent Catholic is inane. I get it semantically, it's inane because Catholicism means, supposedly on the best of days, bringing everybody in. But to say that I'm, for whatever reasons, I'm doing it on my own. But the tradition is clear. There are a couple of places you don't go alone, and one of them is in fear, or in judgment. You go with the community so that when we go too far on ourselves, the community says, whoa, 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 come back. You're still part of us. The other is the grave. We don't let anyone be buried alone because this is our journey. In my liturgical crazy mind, Martha Stewart on crack, if you will, this is how it started. This is the most primal. We've cleaned up everything and made it into pretty little, candles but it was a real fear, I think, that said, everybody inside, that is not coming back, and that's a problem because everything's dying, and not just my family, not just your family or whoever's been vaccinated, everybody get in, because if you stay outside, the dark and the cold will kill you. So you get in. So we get everybody in, there's that panic that's like, oh, here we are. Again, this is not a history, this is the Flaherty version of it, but that idea that there was an urgency to it. So the music for me during that service at St. John's Cathedral, it goes very dark. And so you're sitting in your seats there, and all of a sudden you hear running up and down the side aisles, not pretty cymbals and bells, but people running and yelling and rattling their car keys and banging on pots and pans, because the sun has got to be woken back up, because if we don't, and they have over the years they have established the sun gong. It's this huge gong so it rises as if there is a dependency. Yeah, I think I know that the sun's going to come up tomorrow, but I thought I knew a lot of things last year. So
what are your rituals?
Well, so the circumstances are just like urgent. Like what are we going to do? The annual blessing of babies that have come in the past year, and giving thanks for those who have gone over the past year, has that year round up to it. So I will be going into the backyard tonight and making some noise, and there'll be names, because there are people who are gone, and is it a Celtic tradition? Is it the bagpipe or the keener who kind of cries out, "Wake up, listen! Something has happened. Someone dear is gone, and I need this. You need to know that." And the sun needs to be woken up. So there'll be noise. I'll make some noise. Man, I have been blessed by amazing neighbors who is like, what is he doing now?
So don't call the police on you.
It's just Flaherty.
So you're about making noise, right?
Yeah, the last I was down in Fells Point for about 8 years. We did a Winter Solstice concert. We just got whatever musicians in the neighborhood would come, and so we have all kinds of different music. But at some point there'd be a come on, make some noise. And I remember the year there's this rattling, and I look over and a woman's grabbed her keys out of her purse, and she's just shaking them, and it was just in her. It was just in that. It's like, this isn't just a fun Martha Stewart moment. There's a real desire. So there'll be noise, and then Kate, I'm with you with my friends who, and I want so badly to hear the voices, the anti voices, because the pretty trees, it's like, oh, it's too cold, so they all drop their leaves and everything. But these are like, what it takes to stick around. It's like, what do you want? No, this is it. It's not over. But I love that. I love that image that you shared. So that's what I'm doing.
So you're gonna be making a lot of noise. So neighbors, be aware. David Flaherty is going to be outside and speaking the names of those who have passed and celebrating those people. It's a nice little tradition. For me, I didn't personally grow up with a cultural practice or anything like that. I don't even think I even knew what a winter solstice was back in those days. Maybe they'd mentioned it and I just glossed over it. But as I have developed in my world as a psychic and medium in my spiritual journey, I've kind of created my own ritual. It seems like everybody creates their own rituals. And that's important because it's what resonates with you, like what resonates with me. Otherwise, it'll have no power unless it really resonates from within. So I am my current ritual is to sit in a dark room and sit in the power. Basically sit in my power and use my mind to kind of manifest what I would like to increase or bring into my life, to manifest what I'd like. And so that's going to be my little ritual tonight. And I do this every night. I've been doing it the last few weeks. And sitting in the dark, literally in the closet, because it's really the darkest. So I'm back in the closet. There's no light, there's no sound, and it's just me sitting in my own power and just listening to myself for a moment, and letting that get out of the way. And then I say to myself, okay, what do I want to work on? What do I want to do? What do I want to manifest? What do I want to do? And this is my personal time to do that. And there are no distractions. So that's what I'm going to do, is use this time, as I have the last couple of weeks, to sit with me and to work on bringing in those things, really focus on what I'd like to do and to increase and bring into my life. And understand that there is an untraditional part of the winter solstice, which is talking about those who have died over the last year. And David, you're going to be doing that. And as a medium, what I do is I speak with the dead. Part of my work is connecting with those who have passed on when I'm sitting and doing a reading for someone in particular. And it's pretty powerful. And as I've learned over the years, is when I'm connecting with someone's past loved one, my job is to paint them back to life, to bring a little mini reunion with their loved one. And I do that with a variety I have to bring in evidence as to who they were when they were alive, their essence, because that will establish some credibility. Okay, yeah, I'm not saying I've got your grandmother, she's holding an apple pie, she loves to cook. My job is to paint back her personality. And, what did she like to do? What did she like to do with you? What was her real base? Was she funny? Was she this? Was she that? And connect with them that way, and then find out what messages they have. So I love to celebrate with the person this reunion, and I'm very honored to be able to do that. And it's fascinating every time I do that personally. I know the techniques, I know what's happening, but it's still fascinating to me to hear the stories and to paint them back to life, and to kind of, bring a little reunion with their loved one. It's fascinating because I'm basically the medium between two worlds, and just being able to celebrate them and to let them know, hey, they're still with you. They're still aware of this or that. This, you know, they're here to look over you, or this one is here to, she likes to inspire you with in life. So it's really kind of fun to be able to connect with those who have passed on and celebrate them, and also bring some joy and some real heartfelt feelings to the person who is on the telephone or in person with me. So I love doing it. It's fascinating work, and it really touches people. It's really a ministry of healing. I've learned this work as a psychic and medium is a ministry of healing, their own personal healing, and it's just awe. I'm just in awe of the power of the work. So I'm really happy to continue to do it, and it brings me so much joy as well. So I'll be sitting in the dark tonight and bringing in and manifesting what I want. Sound crazy probably for some people.
Oh, it's lovely. I really appreciate hearing more about, I have guesses about what a psychic medium is, but to hear more about how you manifest that work and what it means to you. That's really beautiful.
Well, thank you. So yeah, I've it's a journey. And someone says, "Oh, you have wonderful, you know, gifts and abilities, and like just like anybody, like a natural athlete. If you're sitting on the couch, oh, this one really looks like she could be an amazing athlete, but unless she does some training, gets coached properly, practices, learn from your mistakes, you know, it does take work to get to that point where you're able to bring it all together, to do it professionally, to do it, you know, with a level of integrity and accuracy and such. It takes some time, and that's what I love to teach my students. It's what I do is I love to, it's basically psychic medium or development school for beginners, elementary school for beginners, and I love to teach my students build a foundation, make sure they understand how they receive information, and develop that ability to do it on demand. So that's a joy, because I am a gardener in life, and I love to help people grow, and growing myself is part of that growth. So it is a lot of fun, and it is challenging. It is challenging, and it does take dedication, and but it's also worth it, I think. We're all in this ministry of healing, in this spiritual journey that we're all on, and we do it differently. And everyone, just like anybody, you know, we all tie our shoes a little differently, or we all make that spaghetti sauce a little differently. And that's what's important, is to be able to put you in it, find out what lane you feel comfortable in, and embrace it. And if you don't like any, there are other aspects of the spiritual journey that are out there that you can explore. So many. So that's me in a little nutshell.
I was just reading something the other night about because we've gone from such extremes of when you read your introduction, you know, a psychic medium, a witch, and a priest walk into a bar.
Well,
I mean, it's a story, you know, it's like, huh? We've gone from such extremes, and then thought, in my own personal life, thought as a nation, you know, we were all on the same page and heading forward, and horrifically came to the knowledge that that is not the case. That different is, you know, we don't have to rehash it, but there's violence out there that I thought was gone. But it's given this opportunity. It was a piece written by a Jewish woman who was saying what it meant when she heard "Happy Holidays" or saw all the holidays of this season smashed in together. Because what we're really talking about is, we're talking about Christmas, and you all want to make you feel comfortable. So here's something and whatever. But and how she had actually found examples where no thought had gotten into it, and Santa Claus was actually not anything to do with Hanukkah. So you really can't use Santa in the advertising, you know. And if you knew what Hanukkah was, it's kind of like Flag Day. if, if you'd like to, know anything about me, talk to me in the spring or in the fall when the high holy takes it, or the nightmare history of what Christians did in forming our rituals and our understanding by taking what was part of human nature, the human tradition, and then the history is that, and then doing, treating the people that we took it from poorly. Just that there would be a freedom to say, if you want to know what I'm celebrating, ask a question and to really learn and not only, okay, well, there's too much going on this week anyways. Why not take a breather in the spring and sit with a Jewish friend and say, tell me about Passover? Because there's a reason we never hear about it, because people have never really, it's like, and to learn from that, or to learn how it manifests itself, that I have a dear friend who's a witch, and I love that, but what do I know about that? What does that mean? And how we own our own tradition, all the more enhanced. I'm just so enriched by knowing these relationships with other people. And so I think that could be another, and the UU folks here in Baltimore, and there is, so on their Zoom tonight, they have a 7:00 Zoom meeting where they're gonna do it, but that service.
First Unitarian, for anybody who wants to tune in. I'm not a part of the church. I really just go to this service and Trans-Day of Remembrance, which is held in that church, but I know of them. Yeah.
That's the church I was ordained in.
It's lovely. It's beautiful.
It's a
150-year-old chapel. It's gorgeous.
It's the building, but and the people. I mean, and who they've been to Baltimore from the start.
Yes.
And when I go there, I know I will be hugged, I will laugh, I will cry, and I will get to sing a song that mentions Samoan women or something. And I know that, and it's good. It's good.
Yeah.
But,
Part of what I love about the solstice service is that there is a main minister and a few other folks who are lay leaders in the church who are part of it, but it's given over to the pagan people who are part of that congregation to lead it. It's pagan led. And so it speaks to their spirit, and it speaks to other people who are part of their traditions. It's really lovely. David, you're one of the most ecumenical of the clergy people that I know. And I have a lot of clergy books in my life. And it's something that you continually try to bring as a value in the work that you do, in the services that you render. Like, you start the Lord's Prayer, Lord itself is gendered with our mother, our father, our creator. And something I noticed when I went to services with my wife all years ago, because it allows for people to find their own reflection, at least many people, in the gender of the deity that we're talking to. I really find a lot of care and respect in that. I felt that, and I think other people have too. It's an interesting thing. You're talking about happy holidays. Solstice is not a holiday. Yule is a pagan holiday that happens now around the solstice. There are 8 big holidays of am I right? I'm not sure. Of the pagan year, there are a few of them that are more important to me, and some that I usually, I'm like, oh yeah, that happened. What I am celebrating isn't, I don't feel like it's a holiday at all. I'm celebrating the rotation of the earth. Like, it is just a physical, gravitational fact that the sun increases from this point. And I'm celebrating the lifting of the darkness that's continued to come. And in my life personally this year, since June 21st, it's been a rough ride. And I really am feeling like that darkness can, I can help inspire it to lift, and I can help inspire myself moving forward from some dark stuff into the light of the springtime when I was born, Beltane, which is my favorite pagan holiday, that we can move forward into time of joyous celebration. What the holiday of it means to me is about a time when so many Christians have influenced the like business and finance calendar to the point that it's not hard to take a week off. And so from in my work, I'm allowed to wander and I can go and be with my family of origin, which is, I see my mom 3 or 4 times a year. It's really a wonderful thing to be able to spend time with my nephews who I don't get to have proximity to very often, to have that family time together. And so I'm not celebrating Yule with them. That's not meaningful to them. I'm celebrating Christmas, even though Christmas liturgically means nothing to me. But the moment of family celebration and connection has a resonance, right? So what ritual looks like for me is like what I've noticed now, having been a witch, I don't know, 35 years, like a long time, is that I made that up a while, 30 years probably, is that what makes a spiritual practice a ritual is the repetition. So I continue to say the same words, or I go to the same place, or I use the same steps, or I light the same candles. And it's because every time I do it, it's like seasoning a pan. Like every time I do it, it makes the flavor of it richer and deeper, and it resonates deeper. I understand more about it. I have a deeper connection to the self I was in years past when I celebrated that. So it's an interesting thing that you said, happy holidays. I never find solstice caught up in that. Maybe Yule for some pagan people, but that's not really my thing.
And when you sing, if anyone has saw your what you did this morning, you posted it on Facebook towards the end of it, and the Christmas music that starts 10 minutes after you digested turkey nonstop, goes on and on.
Waits that long, yeah.
Yeah, through music, I've been able to find things like Creator Omicidium, which is the first thing we've ever addressed to Advent, before there ever was an Advent season, or even before there was a Christian celebration of Christmas, there was this time. And so every year we start, the first notes that I sing as the sun goes down on the first Sunday of Advent is the creator of the stars of night. And it pretty quickly gets into yucky theology and talks about a virgin birth. But my crazy voice is joined with whoever it was that wrote that. And when I it brings up so much of this, but when I started when I started whatever it is that got me to hear what I felt I'd been put out, there was from family and from church, and the thought that I would connect with someone from 4,000 years ago through my voice. And I got that this morning when I was listening to it's like, because maybe it's the same candles, or maybe it's the same whatever, but 365 days have passed and we are not the same people.
Yeah.
And so where people sometimes see repetition, it's like, look, the tilt-a-whirl from hell that has been our lives, this is the same. And so I'm going to hang on to it, even though what I'm bringing to it is radically different. And
you're meeting it as new. Yeah. As a new being.
But like you said, and that's just a fact. It's like, but I've got to make it like, but it's just a fact. And to the freedom in that. Thank you for.
It brings me back to, I think I know that it's fine to share the reason that my wife converted to Catholic as an adult, which, as a feminist witch is baffling to me, and also good for her, do what she does for her own path. Absolutely. And to all who are finding their way, good for you. Right on. Be a seeker. And it doesn't resonate for me. And I really had to wrap my mind around it. And it was when she told me what she feels compelled by is that hundreds of thousands, millions of people around the globe are reading the same liturgy this week, are saying the same prayers, a lot of them at the same exact time, are doing this together. When I understood that it's about the kind of wave of a community of believers lifting up her own spirit and enlarging it, right? Amplifying her own genuine and tender spiritual self into a larger body. And that made me think body of Christ, the idea of the body of the church. And I just got it in a different way and had more respect for it than I'm ashamed to say I first did.
The bafflement is shared by many, myself included at times, because the beauty, and I guess I just, one more, if I was going to add anything, it was, this just takes seriously the beauty of what we have takes great amount of work and a great amount of oftentimes being put out and judged. Thank you for saying what you did, because, you know, I'm not, in many views, I'm not really Catholic and I'm not really a priest. And it's like, well, thanks for offering that. But the people, we say, you know, this is a tradition that we own, and it takes a lot of work and it takes a lot of courage to do that. To stand up and say, this is how I do it. If you'd like to know, ask me. But if it doesn't make sense to you and you just want to, well, then this window's closed, please. Please, you know, your call's not very important to me. No, you want to be there and you want to make that effort, but and with both of these people, if I'm talking, we're talking out there in Facebook land, this woman and this man both are people that bring an integrity to what they do that sits me here with them, where I don't know that that would be the case 10 years ago.
Oh, you're too kind.
I wouldn't have had the courage to pull that off, but the two of you bring an integrity to it, and people see that immediately. And
thank you. Thank you.
Oh, bless your heart, David.
Let me, I'm just looking at some of the comments from folks.
that's right, there are other people here.
I know.
What are you doing?
Focus. All right, I have 4 people who, let me just kind of read through what they do, just to let everybody know that, yes, you can do whatever you want to do. There seems to be a theme about, you know, letting go of things and creating new things. So listen, and maybe some of these will resonate with you if you don't have a tradition. Tessa Morrow says she has a big family meal followed by gift giving. And then while they gather around the table with the lights off, one by one, they start to say what they're grateful for and light their candle. And as it gets brighter with each person who speaks, then they bring light into their little gathering.
Lovely.
Jay Allen from Palm Springs, he says that he does a meditation asking to hear what he needs to hear right now. And then he will create a sigil, which is a graphic of manifesting. For a few things that he wants to manifest in the near future, and then he charges them or fuels them with positive creative energy. And then writing those down on paper, those things that he wants to let go of, and then he burns them in a dung and then ghee. He burns them in dung and ghee, which is really believed to remove the negative energy and create positive energy. He says it's in India. They make this clarified butter, which is the ghee, by cooking it over cow dung, which is the fuel. So that's his little tradition. Vanessa Rhodes she's going to make a pot of wassail, light some candles, and have her family members write down on little pieces of paper what they want to let go of in the coming months. Then we set our intentions by burning the papers. And Lane Walker says she lights a candle, prays to her deities for good fortune and good health, and reflect on the year with a drink. So
cheers to you. That's great.
I know, isn't it interesting? Everyone does a little different. It's all about letting go of certain things, releasing certain energy that's been bothering you, and then creating new energy into your life, bringing those things that you want into your life. And we're using this increase of the sun, this, planetary, phenomena that goes on every day, whether we like it or not, and just ritualizing it and empowering it. And when we empower things like that, it actually brings the magic into the ritual, into your intentions. So the key is do something. or at least think about it and say, okay, what do I need to, what do I want to bring into my life since the sun is coming longer, or it's going to be longer each day, that's increase. Okay, what do I want to bring into my life? And think about it and figure out what ritual will work for you to manifest it, whether it light a candle, using imagery, all sorts of things. So those are some thoughts from some folks in the comments section. Let me see if there's anybody else here. All sorts of folks are saying hello, hello, hello.
I love the candles around the table.
And lighting one.
Yeah.
Tessa.
Mm-hmm.
Wonderful.
So much of how I understand ritual is to make physical what is the atmospheric change that you want to have happen, what's the energetic change that you want to have happen. So if you're looking to increase or bring light, actually light a bunch of candles. That's a great idea, right? Make it manifest in a very physical way, because parts of our intuition will understand it differently if it's in front of us.
It's in manifestation is the oldest form of magic. Bringing things into your life. That's what I love to teach. It is the oldest form, and people have been doing it for millions of years.
And when you're talking about kids that are learning how they learn, I mean, because of course, especially, this is a bowl of water. It means baptism. You should be thinking about this, and you immediately excluded anybody that doesn't see that bowl and think of the esoteric theological principle of baptism. And you miss the kid who's going to tell you about the last time he was at the beach with his grandfather, and that's how his grandfather lives now. And so but sitting around that table, learning how your kids learn, and finding out that lighting a bunch of candles sometimes doesn't mean anything to anybody, or the fact that I've included an apple in my arrangement on the first Sunday of Advent is clearly a sign of the book of Genesis, and people are like, huh?
Mm-hmm. But the meaning is still there, right? It means something to you, and your reflection of that may show up in your gesture or a tone of voice or something else that other people are able to connect with, even if they're not able to name exactly what's happening, right? All of it is still in the room with you. The magic is there whether other people understand it or don't.
The magic is your magic. You
and
don't need anybody else to create the magic.
And can happen in, I guess that's I think when you gather 300 people at a time, or 50 people, or 2 people, and what you do and say is going to have to, it should, rather than being a person praying in front of a group of people saying whatever runs through their mind, something that really has thought about how it's going to bring that group of people together. But it probably is going to seem a little generic compared to what your house looks like, because your house is your house, and you put greens wherever you want, and you put, and the courage to do that as well, and to know that both are important, and what, and we've immediately had to, with communion, had this decision of, okay, well, if I'm broadcasting mass, which Mr. Platt and I went back and forth about, because it's like that, you're not going to do it. Also, it's like, well, then you're not going to gather. So I'm not going to do a Eucharist where I'm going to show you something and then, tough luck. So this idea that, well, you'll get bread, it was like a no-brainer, instant. And that the home is vital. That's the first place they learn. Was that unfinished thought? I leave it such.
On that note, it looks like we've come up to our 1 hour, and I don't want to make sure, I want to make sure you all honor your time and everybody else's to go ahead and wrap this up. So my question is to each one of you, how can folks find you on social media, and maybe some upcoming events? How about you, Kate? How can people find you, and you have any upcoming events or things going on that you'd like to announce?
It's an odd question to me, actually. I don't have any public presence that I want to continue, be more public with. In fact, my Facebook presence have become more and more private over the last couple of years, although I still have an overshare problem. It's just what it is. But I've been limiting who I'm speaking to, and I don't want to open that up for folks I don't know. It is okay for people just to email me at my own personal address. I'm going to give that to you, which is girltoast@hotmail. I've had this email since 1991. GIRLTOAST@hotmail. And I'd be happy to have more conversations with folks. The work that I do, I work for Chase Brexton Healthcare, which is a LGBT founded health center. And I do education for health and human service workers around working with LGBTQ folks. And we are working on a symposium around transgender care coming up at the end of April. So that's a good thing to check out. I also do a good bit of webinar teaching, and you can find connections to that through the Chase Brexton website, chasebrexton.org.
Excellent. Thank you, Kate. David Flaherty, where do you want folks to go see you? Because you do services online, morning prayer, evening prayer, Sunday service, midnight mass. Where can they find you?
Right here on Facebook. The Institute for St. Sebastian for Catholic Heritage and Culture.
I'll put that in the comments. It's a mouthful.
But it's a public group. That's where we found the easiest to. I use the we a lot, don't I? That's where I found it's easiest to broadcast from, working with different things. Kevin's the master of Zoom here, but so yeah, there's a Sunday Eucharist. What's coming up is Christmas Eve. There'll be a 7 o'clock broadcast on Christmas Eve, and then midnight. When half spent was the night, and it's different this year, but it's powerful. We found last year was powerful as well. And it could not be done without a number of folks that helped out. So the Facebook, and then if you want to contact me personally, you can do that through that as well.
Okay, so this is for folks who are going to be comfortable, who used to be maybe Roman Catholic and said, no, I'm not going to do that anymore. Or but that's basically, it's all are welcome, and your ritual is a Roman Catholic styled ritual, but more open and accepting.
We'll leave the Roman off. Roman off. It's the Catholic liturgy that and yeah, folks who have been brought in, and there's no joining, like leaving one or joining the other. It really is about Catholic heritage and culture, and we celebrate that. The good in it. We also recognize and are trying to become more of a social voice against the abuse of what's been abused. But that's
all right. It's a wonderful community, online community now. I encourage everyone to check him out, and I will have his information in the comments section, or actually in the intro, once I edited the intro out. So, and for me, people can find me, of course, on my Facebook page, Kevin Paul Psychic Medium, my YouTube channel, which is of the same name, my Instagram, which is the same name, which is mostly my beekeeping fun, but and my website, kevinpaulpsychicmedium.com. It started off as a blog, Both Sides of the Veil, where I wrote about paranormal investigations that I've done, or some teachings, and now it's got about my training for beginning psychic and mediums, people who want to understand what their abilities are. I do an abilities analysis. So everything's on the website. So everything is Kevin Paul Psychic Medium, and you can find me there all over the place probably. So I want to thank you all for joining us, Kate and David, on this special day that we're celebrating, which is what we call the Winter Solstice. And I'm honored to have you both, and to listen to your wisdom and your knowledge. And I really, really appreciate the time that you've provided us today.
Oh, it's been a joy. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you, Kevin.
My pleasure. So go forth and create. Bye for now. Take care. Thank you again.
Thanks.